Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. My Hero Academia. Virtual Extract. Chapter 1 Extract Quirk. Hey, Yushin, that little boy, is it your brother? A female hero's shopping in a mall in Shizuoka County found a special little guy and couldn't help but scream at Mount Lady next to her. What? Yu Takayama was still thinking about the crime nearby. He suddenly heard the reminder from his companion, and immediately looked into the distance. When he saw the sneaky figure, a tic-tac-toe suddenly appeared on Yu Takayama's head, Shina Etsuha. Fuck. Shina Etsuha didn't expect that he would bump into her sister when he was skipping class, which shocked him. Seeing Yu Takayama, Shina Etsuha hurriedly hid the newly bought manga, Crimson Eye, in the shopping bag, and then squeezed out a reluctant smile. It's my sister, After humming for a long time, he couldn't tell the reason for his absenteeism. I can't say it's for my own quirk, right? That way, Yu Takayama would surely laugh to death, knowing that the former Etsuha was deemed no quirk by experts. The passers-by noticed Etsuha and Yu Takayama, both showing unbelievable expressions. Isn't that the latest hero's MT? Lady. The one she taught was her brother. Is this Etsuha sauce? I heard that I became a famous manga artist at a very young age. Yes, it's a pity that it's a rare non-quirk. However, if you can't become a hero's, being a manga artist is also a very good choice. Etsuha couldn't help rolling his eyes when he heard the comments from the people around him. His quirk is closely related to the manga, but it is impossible for others to know. Even his sister Yu Takayama would not understand that Etsuha is not a no quirk, but an extremely rare special quirk. Speaking of it, he has been here for more than 10 years. Since being picked up by his sister Yu Takayama, Etsuha has lived a normal life here. In addition, he was detected as having no quirk when he was in kindergarten, and he was very concerned about his life. There is no pursuit. But when he tried to be a copywriter and published some comics he knew in his previous life to the public, Etsuha suddenly realized his own quirk, virtual extraction. He can extract any ability from any work, even the power of Saitama in One Punch Man, he can also extract it. However, at least two conditions are required to activate this ability. First, the works to be extracted must have a relatively complete worldview. This is easier to understand. You can't just write a sentence on paper. I can smash the universe casually, and it will really be extracted. This is impossible. The extraction object must be at least one work, and it must be recognized by the public. The second is that Etsuha himself needs to have a certain degree of visibility, which is like energy. The more energy you have, the stronger Etsuha can extract. Etsuha calculated that if he wanted to extract the invincible ability of One Punch Man, he would at least spread his popularity to the world. At the moment, the popularity he has accumulated from drawing comics can at most control the power system of slashing the Crimson Eye. Etsuha. Yu Takayama picked him up. Should you not go to school now? Why are you here? I took time off. Shina Etsuha struck her neck. Said it was a request for leave. In fact, when I was skipping class, I left a note and didn't ask the teacher for instructions. Really? You don't go home after taking a leave of absence, so go to the store to buy the comics. Yu Takayama gave a disdainful expression that you were an idiot as a sister, and then let go of Etsuha. You can see that her anger has disappeared a lot, at least Etsuha not bad enough to ignore the teacher. Ah, the manga I drew is on sale, so I always have to buy a souvenir. Etsuha is a little embarrassed. In fact, he can wait until he gets home and use virtual extraction skills on the manuscript at home, but the home is too far from school. I chose a closer store, but I didn't expect to meet my sister here. Yu Takayama said. Really, I will bring you home. Even if you study well, skipping class will cause a lot of trouble for the teacher. Not next time. I'll go back to school now. Etsuha quickly apologized when he saw this, looking distressed. That's right. Go back quickly, it's dangerous here, Yu Takayama reminded. She came out this time to hunt down a fugitive criminal, and it was just a coincidence that she met Etsuha. Etsuha wanted to leave a long time ago. He nodded quickly, ran all the way, and quickly left the mall. This kid, Yu Takayama looked helplessly at his younger brother's back. It's too gentle. Female heroes vomited. The usual black-bellied queen in front of her younger brother looks like she is spoiled, which is really shocking. You can control it. Yu Takayama glared at her. Ellipsis. Ha. Finally waited. Etsuha came to the alley and took out the manga with some excitement. This is the first time he has used quirk, and I don't know how strong it will be. Turning over the manga, a series of characters quickly appeared in his field of vision. At the same time, Etsuha also felt that his hands seemed to be able to easily touch these characters, as if the world in the manga really existed. Tasmi. Not for me. Red Eye. The limitations of the sword are too obvious, it is difficult to control without Superman's physical fitness. The Emperor. Not even. Found it. Acedes. Seeing a queen with long ice blue hair appeared in front of him, Etsuha's eyes lit up and he reached out to grab her. Virtual Extraction. Chapter 2. Incidents and Himiko Toga. For a moment, Etsuha felt like he was walking in the snow and ice, and the biting cold air penetrated into his body along the skin, and the internal organs all over his body seemed to be stained with frost at this moment. Etsuha, with his eyes closed, didn't know that his hair had changed a lot in this instant. The black hair was actually condensed into light blue by the power of the ice, all revealing the biting cold. At this time, his quirk exuded soft power and quickly got rid of the sequelae on the body surface, and Etsuha's hair turned black again. Well, a terrifying force, worthy of being the #1 Admiral Army in the comics. When the process of extracting energy was finished, Etsuha opened his eyes, and an ice blue flashed past his black pupils. It stands to reason that the newly acquired abilities should be run in, just like Midoriya got Onforel for the first time, because substandard physique often hurts herself. But Etsuha didn't feel it. He could clearly feel that his current utilization rate of Demon God appears. Demon Essence was 100%, even if Mokubo Timo was able to release hidden skills that could freeze time and space. Yes, what Etsuha extracts is not a simple Tikoku, but the full power of Acedes, which contains her Tikoku and combat experience. Realizing this, Etsuha was a little excited, and no one showed up nearby. He simply manipulated Tikoku and prepared to test his abilities. Frozen. Bang. The surrounding temperature dropped sharply, and the cold visible to the naked eye instantly blasted out and hit the trash can in the distance. However, upon contact, the trash can was directly frozen into an ice sculpture, even on the wall with shocking cold power. So strong. Etsuha is very happy. Only the first extraction has such a strong ability. If you can have the ability of the king in the future, wouldn't it be heaven-defying? Rumble. At this moment, there was a sudden explosion in the distance. Immediately afterwards, countless crowds panicked, and countless screams could be heard amidst the noise. Ah! Monster! Monster! Help! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! This is the scene of the crime. Etsuha's expression became very exciting. Speaking of her, her sister is a serious hero, and today is a working day. Obviously, it is not a coincidence that I met her in the mall. Yu Takayama is probably to hunt down criminals. There are weird laws in this world. People without a hero's license can't use quirk at will in public, and Etsuha naturally doesn't have the brain to fight against each other. The best way to deal with this situation is to call the old sister. Hey, sister, there is someone murdering in Tianzhoinshou supermarket, maybe it is the criminal you were looking for. My location. I'm right next to him, about tens of meters, but sister, don't worry, my quirk. Why did the phone hang up? Etsuha was stunned when the communication on the phone was interrupted. He also wanted to tell Yu Takayama about the quirk. He didn't expect that the other party left the phone after saying, "I'll come right now, you run away." Really, can't you just listen to people finish the sentence? He was a little unhappy. Ah, isn't this a famous junior high school student cartoonist? I am lucky to meet here. At this time, a girl who was about the same size as Etsuha appeared beside her, looking at Etsuha with interest. This is. Etsuha turned his head. A flash of surprise flashed in his eyes. The girl looked 15 or 16 years old, with her long golden hair coiled into two balls. Her facial features were very delicate and standard, and she was kind of cute. Only the first time he saw the other party, a name appeared in Etsuha's heart. Himiko Toga. Yes, the cute girl in front of me is one of the villains afterwards, and Etsuha didn't expect to meet each other here. Do you recognize me? Etsuha asked strangely. If it had been before, he might have been more cautious. However, after acquiring Taigu, Etsuha's strength has already taken a qualitative leap, so naturally there is no fear at this time. Hamiko Toga nodded. Of course, I'm a big fan of you. It's just, you are in a very dangerous situation. Shina Etsuha, the most beloved brother of professional heroes Mount Lady, has been studied by those guys for a long time. This a crime scene was carefully arranged based on this lovely brother. What do you mean? Etsuha's eyes became cold, and ice blue flashed in his pupils again. Hee, I just kindly remind you, don't get caught. Otherwise, the fatal weakness of professional heroes, but there will be one more. Hamiko Toga smiled lightly, and she watched carefully before leaving. After taking a look at Etsuha, he found out that the other party did indeed seem to be a non-quirk, and he couldn't help but shook his head regretfully. Do you want to take me hostage and target professional heroes? Etsuha turned his head and found that he was still destroying the surrounding guys before, and suddenly rushed towards him. Chapter 3 Career Heroes Rescue. What's wrong with you, Sean? Your face is very ugly. In Takashimiya's supermarket, female professional heroes saw Yu Takayama's ugly face and couldn't help but ask. I found the lurking criminal, it's in Tanshoin town. Yu Takayama said anxiously, Etsuha is right next to that guy. Given the group of people's understanding of me, they will definitely attack Etsuha, I'll take one step. Quote. As he spoke, Yu Takayama had already got out of the crowd and swiftly ran in the direction where Etsuha had left. It's beside little Etsuha. The female heroes looked worried, don't be wrong. Ellipsis. Ha ha ha, Mount Lady's younger brother, the legendary quirk Free Waste is really here. In Tanshoin Cho, a man wrapped in muscle suddenly rushed out of the supermarket with bloodthirsty excitement in his half of his eyes. His goal is Etsuha. Hey, is my name that big? Etsuha had a headache when he heard the other party reciting a series of names of his own. Is this his label in the eyes of the villain? The price is too low. HMPH, as long as you catch you, those waste heroes won't dare to do anything at will. Boy, roll over to me, I will make good use of you. The muscular bloodthirsty man smashed a ball of steel pipe with his hands, revealing a splendid mouth. White teeth. This guy is a muscular bloodthirsty man. There are many ordinary people with broad knowledge in the crowd. When they saw the other's quirk, they immediately thought of a vicious crime a few years ago. Muscle bloodthirsty man. Who is that? Idiot, it's the muscular man who killed the Waterhouses 2 years ago. This kind of guy actually came to Tanshoin town, what happened? Do they still use little Etsuha to deal with heroes? Despicable guy. It's so noisy, do you want to kill them all? Hearing the noise next to him, the muscular bloodthirsty man frowned, and then stretched out. Well, as long as you grab this kid, everything will be mine. Is under control. As he said, the muscle fibers all over his body have been completely covered, his body strength has grown more than 10 times, he stepped back, and his whole body slammed into Etsuha like a cannonball. It's too cruel to use this quirk on a child. Trash, scum. I will never see Etsuha's manga again. Countless people wailed, but no one saw it. The ice blue light in Etsuha's eyes suddenly flourished at this moment. This guy's movements, completely visible. No, it's not only visible. For Etsuha, this guy's full offense is even weaker. At the moment when he saw the opponent's attack, at least 3 anti-kill plans had already echoed in his mind. Ice ride. Don't think about it. When Etsuha was about to use Taigu, a strong man fell from the sky, his hands burst out with powerful force to grab the muscle bloodthirsty man, and then threw it out. Bang! The muscular bloodthirsty man's body was thrown away heavily, and his body fell on the street, smashing a hole in it that was not deep or shallow. At this time, the fortitude image of that hero's was revealed in front of everyone. This is a hero's who is not too tall, looks a little simple, but unexpectedly gives people a sense of security. Only when they appear, the crowd around them burst into cheers. It's the red fist of death. Heroes, a punch of justice through the wrist. It's not the first time everyone has seen the quirk crime on the street, and there are too many professional heroes nearby, and no one has the idea of running away. After a little panic, they stayed nearby to watch the big show. Death Chicken stood in front of Etsuha, wiped the corners of his mouth and said, "It seems that I will be the first to arrive." "It's okay, boy." "Ah, it's okay." Etsuha nodded, feeling a little regretful at the same time. Just now was an excellent opportunity to let him defend with quirk just as he said. Now professional heroes are here, and 80% of them don't have their own roles, which makes Etsuha regretful. Oh, Death red punch. It's getting more and more interesting. It seems that I will be trapped in the circle of professional heroes in a moment. It's really unpleasant news. The muscular bloodthirsty man stood up from the street. The muscle fibers all over his body squirmed like worms, and it seemed that the attack just now did not cause him great damage. This guy. Seeing the opponent's reaction, Etsuha subconsciously noticed something was wrong. Is the reaction of the muscle bloodthirsty man too calm? In other words, there is no fear. The hero's killer incident hasn't appeared yet. This guy probably hasn't joined the enemy alliance yet. Why is it that he has come out to destroy him now, and he looks so convinced? When Etsuha guessed, the muscular bloodthirsty man had jumped out of the street again. His scarlet muscles completely covered his fist, forming a huge ball of meat, and then slammed his fist toward Death. Court Death. Death's red fist narrowed his eyes and also prepared to take the opponent's attack with all his strength. His fists rubbed the air and made a dull sound. Seeing that the two sides were about to collide, the direction of the muscular bloodthirsty man's attack suddenly reversed. He suddenly stretched out his other hand, and there was a hard stone in his palm. With all the muscles of the muscular bloodthirsty man exerting force, the stone suddenly rushed towards Etsuha's body like a bullet. Give me to die. Not good. Death Chiquan's pupils shrank. Chapter 4 Breakout. Ice Quirk. Are you serious? Seeing the opponent's attack, Etsuha instinctively felt a burst of laughter. Originally, he had planned to leave, but he didn't expect that the other party hadn't given up yet and wanted to kill himself directly. This idea was too naive. Just a rock that was smashed vigorously, what kind of lethality can it have on yourself? Maybe it's okay to deal with ordinary people, but under Etsuha's ice shield, this kind of attack can't happen even with a single wave. Ice shield. Etsuha spreads out his hand, and a layer of ice crystals is about to solidify in front of him. But beyond his expectation, Death Chiquan suddenly jumped over before then and took the stone with his body. Hey, are you okay? Etsuha's mouth twitched. Is this guy too dedicated? In this case, releasing Emperor Jiyu would injure Death Red Fist, and he had no choice but to disperse his ice shield. Ahem, as a professional heroes, how could it be possible for a child to be injured in front of me? You go back quickly, and Kamui Woods will come to support you soon. Death wiped the corners of his mouth with a red fist and slapped Etsuha. A relaxed expression. At the same time, the muscular bloodthirsty man rushed over, his whole muscles tense, his body turned into an afterimage, and he instantly appeared in front of Death Chiquan and punched it fiercely. So fast. Death Chiquan was shocked, but when he was taken aback, his jaw was suddenly hit, and his body was smashed back heavily. The sad career heroes is also an enhanced quirk. Your wrist strength increase can only be regarded as my subordinate substitute. The muscle bloodthirsty man gave a grinning grin, then grabbed Death's red fist by the hair and lifted him up, and the muscle fibers in his right hand condensed. With a huge muscle mass, he punched Death Chiquan's abdomen again. Bang! Death's red fists burst into his eyes, and he felt like he was hit by a heavy hammer in his abdomen. The other party was right. The increase in Death Chiquan was only wrist strength, and facing the bloodthirsty man who could increase all the muscles, he could only fall into a disadvantage. Next time I want to save people, I advise you to weigh your own abilities. But there is no next time. Go and die. The muscular bloodthirsty man's wrists began to force, and with a pinch of his 5 fingers, countless blood stains appeared on the head of Death Kai Fist, causing him to let out a scream. Profession heroes lost. This scream was like a signal, causing the calm crowd to panic instantly. Death Chiquan failed. What about other professional heroes? Why haven't they come yet? Heroes. Heroes are going to be killed. The killing of heroes is definitely a huge and bad event that can affect society. Just like the heroes who died a few years ago, the blow to society and humanity is absolutely extremely heavy. Death opened his eyes with a red fist and stared at the opponent, but the continuous heavy blows made him unable to make any movements at all. He could only constantly feel the 5 fingers of the opponent's increasing strength, and his brain seemed to be unable to bear it. About to fall apart. Could it be that I am about to die here? Yu Guang seemed to be able to catch a glimpse of the panicked crowd, and there was a trace of sadness in the corner of Death's eyes. No one can save yourself. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt cold around his body. Is it an illusion? Death thought to himself with a red fist. But at the next moment, he was stunned. Damn, who is this little guy? Isn't this Etsuha? Why hasn't he run yet? What are you doing? Don't leave now. Death Chicken shouted at Etsuha with the last bit of strength. His voice reminded the panicked crowd, and some people glanced towards the middle inadvertently, and couldn't help but lose their color. That's Etsuha. Is he crazy? If he retreats, if other heroes arrive, he might be able to save Death with Red Fist. But he rushed to villain, it would be a burden. It's unwise to die in this situation. I thought Etsuha was very sensible before, but now, what the hell is going on? He is not such a person who can't distinguish the form. Etsuha's behavior caused the crowd to panic again, which is simply troublesome. Uncle, I can't watch you die. Etsuha ignored the people who were talking, and said helplessly, I thought you could beat this guy before, but it doesn't seem to be so optimistic. What are you kidding? At this time, the muscular bloodthirsty man was even more excited. One of his eyes was shining with scarlet light, and he said excitedly, ha ha ha, the idiot sent to the door, since you are here to die, then obediently turn me into a stick, attracting those professional heroes. He released Death's red fist and grabbed Etsuha with his big hand. But at this moment, Etsuha's body burst into extremely cold ice, the temperature around him plummeted, and the bloodthirsty muscle man's body was stained with ice crystals. At the same time, a voice suddenly erupted from Etsuha's mouth. Frozen. Bang. There was no time for people to react at all, and the whole body of the muscular bloodthirsty man directly turned into an ice sculpture. The crowd who was still in full swing suddenly quieted down, watching the scene in front of them, and the audience was silent. Even if he was reprimanding Etsuha's death red punch just now, he was stunned at the moment. Chapter 5 Etsuha's Battle. This is a spike. Seeing the situation in front of them, everyone hardly believed their eyes. This is a criminal who can kill two professional heroes besieged, and now it is easier to defeat Death Chicken, how powerful. But was killed by this quiet-looking little. You know, this guy is notoriously quirk-free. Especially Death Chiquan. Thinking that the guy he had just been desperately trying to protect was actually a hidden super quirk owner, he couldn't help but feel a toothache. What are you protecting? And after a long time of trouble, he was saved by the other party. This is the most ridiculous. Etsuha. You don't have quirk. Death froze for a long time, and finally asked a question that he felt stupid. Actually I don't know how to use it. This quirk is not easy to control, maybe it will cause me a lot of harm. Etsuha lied without blushing, and said helplessly, speaking of which, I don't have a hero's license. Everything is to save you and I have to violate the rules. It is illegal for people without a hero's license to use quirk at will, even to save people. This is a death rule. Death Chiquan also knows this. He nodded and said, don't worry, all of this is authorized by me. What happened to me should be left to me. As a professional heroes, Death Chiquan has the right to authorize some people to temporarily use the quirk for activities. But correspondingly, heroes is authorized to be responsible for all consequences, and when this sentence is said, Death Chiquan is ready to take on everything. During the conversation between the two, the muscular bloodthirsty man who was originally frozen by Etsuha suddenly burst into a crack, and then it seemed to cause a chain reaction. All the ice crystals were suddenly propped up, and the muscular bloodthirsty man was completely resurrected. Isn't dead yet. Death Chiquan's heart sank. This guy's muscles are like a layer of armor, it is too difficult to kill him. And the blow just now is probably Etsuha's full strength, and his state is very bad, it is impossible to deal with this kind of guy. Only escape, and never let Etsuha fall into the hands of such a person. Thinking of this, Death could not help but said, boy, run with me. Halfway through the conversation, Etsuha's figure has rushed to the muscular bloodthirsty man, and suddenly launched an attack. This guy. Death Cheese fists are almost getting bigger, can this also punch? The muscular bloodthirsty man also felt extremely ashamed, he was just frozen by a little guy. This kind of shame almost overwhelmed his sanity. Seeing Etsuha voluntarily run again, all his muscles were concentrated in his right hand, bursting out with the strongest power, and suddenly blasted out. Bang! The swift muscle tissue rubbed Etsuha's head, his body was only slightly to one side, and he easily avoided the opponent's attack. Court death. The muscular bloodthirsty man sneered, how about avoiding the attack? The strong wind caused by those muscles can also mash this little bit into flesh. But the next moment, his smile suddenly solidified on his face. In front of Etsuha, a thin layer of ice shield suddenly condensed in front of him, which perfectly offset the impact of the opponent's fist. Immediately afterwards, a handful of ice-sharp blades condensed from his hand, stabbed forward, and instantly cut the shoulder muscles of the muscular bloodthirsty man. Asshole. The muscular bloodthirsty man was even more angry, almost roaring. He turned around and attacked Etsuha. When he turned his head, what appeared in front of him was a slap of Etsuha. This guy, do you want to kill me with this attack? The muscular bloodthirsty man was puzzled for a moment, but at the next moment, he was stunned to find that the heart of Etsuha's hand suddenly burst out a boundless cold, and an ice cone that was several times larger than his whole body came out of Etsuha's hand, madly stabbing. Come here. Pouch. The transparent ice crystals are like sharp blades, and the muscles of the bloodthirsty man's body are not obstructed, just like cutting tofu, directly penetrated by the ice cone. Countless scum condensed in his body, and even his blood was frozen. Cold. Bonely cold. When the muscular bloodthirsty man recovered, his whole body blood became a cold block, and those muscles were more like necrosis, completely depressed. Am I dead? His mind was at a loss. He was defeated by a guy who was still in junior high school. But recalling Etsuha's actions, he couldn't help but feel cold. Too strong. From start to finish, he hasn't even touched Etsuha's clothes. No quirk. Ha ha ha. Such a guy is no quirk. You can go to hell with me with this damn information. This was the last thought of the muscle bloodthirsty man. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.